Welcome, everybody, to today's Lunch and Learn. I'll be your host. I know it says Dylan Roberts on the screen, but it's actually Jared. So, I mean, I can be Dylan for today. I don't mind. You can call me Dylan if you want. I'm on the professional services team. I've been there for a while. I have a really cool beard, and I'm a really cool dude. So I can help you out. If you have any comments or questions about decisions, I can answer them. I'll answer them to the best of my ability. And if it's something I can demonstrate, I'll also do that as well. While you're thinking of your questions, I did have one question that came in. And the question that came in, let me find it, basically was asking, I'm trying to import some data into decisions from an Excel and tried using actually, wait a minute, wrong day. There we go. Haha. We have an exception of could not find outcome scenario failed, mean when I'm trying to convert an Excel file into dynamic data rows. So interesting question. I believe it is something to do. I don't know if once that guest is on the call, we can probably dive into this a little bit more. But I believe what that could mean is, let me go ahead and find my kind of test example that I've been using. There's a couple of steps you can utilize to import Excel data into, you got import Excel CSV. You also have import Excel CSV runtime. And there's also import Excel CSV by column names. And when you have them, when you have a specified number of column names, I think what you can do is you can say, let's say I have like 2, right? I have 2 types of column names. And then I believe one of these steps allows me, let me just take a quick look over here, to be able to indicate what I want to determine those columns to be. So I can give it a name, or I can give it and tell it what data type to expect. It's one of these properties, or one of these steps here. But there's many ways to import. I'd have to know like what specific step you're using, and then we can dive more into it. But essentially, it's just that. You can say, hey, these are the columns I want. We create a data structure associated with that file data type that we're utilizing, and then you just transfer that information and that data via the flow, and then you can determine what it would be. Let's see, I'm going to create actually an Excel file. Let me just create that. Let me just create one real quick. We'll just do a blank workbook, right? I'm going to say this is going to be first name, and we'll take this as last name. We're just going to have a little bit of fun here. All right, so I got my first name, last name, and let's say this is going to be Jared R. I'm going to go and say this is Sabrina L. Nope, her name's not last name. That'd be pretty if her last name was last name. And Jada T. And we'll also do Will and P. All right, so this is my very simple, simplistic Excel spreadsheet. I'll store on this PC. Let's do, sure, we'll do it in my documents. And this will be called people spreadsheet. Boom, save that. All right, it's first name, last name. I'm going to close this. I'm going to go back to my Decision Studio here. And let's just start testing stuff. So I'm going to add a file to this one. Number of columns 2. All right. I'm going to set up some input data so I can easily test this. And by all means, if someone else has a different question, I'll be more than happy to answer that. I'm just more taking the time to expound upon this initial question that was asked of could not find outcome scenario failed mean when trying to convert Excel to dynamic data rows. But if you have a different question, feel free to post it. I can also give you speaking permission so you can write information or speak information audibly through a microphone, and then we can talk there. All right, we're going to set this to the file data. All right. Close and save this Excel file. Awesome. But now what we're going to do is I have in this step right here, it should be an Excel. I just like to leave it on auto select because it's very easy. So I'm going to leave that as auto select. Now, before I actually continue with this, let me make sure I have some type of flow structure to convert this in. This is going to be people FS All right, and we're going to do first name, last name, since those are the two things that I have configured in the Excel file. I'm going to click save. This is going to compile. Magic. I got a flow structure. And then I'll go back into my flow. And then what I'll do is I'll select my output type to be that recent data structure I created, that people one, if I could find it. Oh, it's not in recents. User defined types. Flow data structures. People FS. Haha. Perfect. And so as you see what we got right here, this is actually the exact step that I was looking at. So now that we have more columns and I've attached it to a data structure, we can say, okay, this column is going to be tied to, the phylum column name of whatever. And this is going to be tied to the first name property on my data structure. This value can be empty or I can skip it. So now what I can do is I'm going to, we'll see how this works, add this to done. We're going to say that this one is going to be to the first name column, because that's what I have. And it's going to be tied to the first name column here, and it's going to be a string. You can skip this number if you don't want to process this data, right? If you have some Excel columns that don't have any data into it, you can totally change it and skip it if you would like. So I'm going to leave this as first name. Oh, actually, I did the wrong one. Haha, silly me. All right, we're going to say this is last name. Oh, actually, wait. Number one, what is this one? Number two. Oh, interesting. Okay, did not know that. So we're actually going to leave this as first name because that's column one. Column two, we're going to say this is last name, if I can spell it. And then I'm going to set this as last name right here. Perfect. So now the next thing that I have to do in my test is merely just pass in some file data. You may be wondering, why am I leaving these extra tails disconnected? The reason being is because that's if you want to create some type of error handling built into the step right here. You can choose to remove any of those specific parts to it, or add add some type of handling if you need to. But in this context, I don't really need any of that, so I'm just going to not configure it. Alrighty, let's go ahead. Let me get my file over here. Alrighty. Debug this thing. I'm going to choose, do I have this? Haha. Oh, wrong file. Wrong file. Choose a file. I'm going to go to documents. We're going to go to the people spreadsheet, and the people spreadsheet. Perfect. I'm going to save this, and we're going to debug this. And now we can see what errors we got here. We have a value cannot be null parameter. All right, so it said value cannot be null parameter path. Get value 2. All right, so there's a value parameter that is left null. Let's see. I think it's the worksheet index. I got to set this as 1. I don't think 0 counts. 0 is out of the bounds of the array. We can debug just to make sure. But I'm pretty sure it should get out of bounds. Value cannot be null. No, it's the same one. Value cannot be null. Consumer, yeah. Stack trace is in the flow. So we're getting an empty value. All right, I'm going to set this to, instead of 0, set this to 1. Oh, I didn't pick it. That's funny. I'm here doing something super complicated, and I just didn't pass in the file data to it. And that's why I ran as null. So I'm going to Excel file data this, add this here. Now I should be able to get something processed, and we can see what happens. Boom. So now what we can see is, now I have my spreadsheet that ran, and then I have my imported data into my flow structure that I can now utilize in the proper way. So this is one of the steps that we do use if you have some large data file that you want to convert and transition into decisions. The initial configuration will take a little bit, right? Because depending on how many columns you have, you'll have to configure it that many times. But once you've configured that, it would be a lot easier to transfer the data. If doing this manually is just not an option, let's say you just have the ridiculous right? Like there's, I mean, it's not really ridiculous, but if you're just due to your circumstance, you have a large Excel data sheet and it's just not manageable to, do one column at a time. You can use other types of data structures in decisions where you can create a data structure based from an Excel. No, where was the one? CSV. That's what I was thinking. You can do it from a CSV, and then you can get that data imported that way. And that's a more easier way to transition data from a file into decisions. But regardless of how you're transitioning that data, you will be doing it. You'll have to have some type of data structure to transform it into, to get it into decisions, whether stored or not stored. You have to have some type of flow structure or storeable data structure to put it in there. But yeah, but that's the scoop on transitioning data, getting it from a file and stuff. We have these steps. Well, I think this is just the same step twice. Import Excel or CSV, import Excel CSV or column names. Let me just type Excel to show you guys some other cool ones. We also have a for each Excel CSV row. So if you just have lots of data that you want to transition, here's another dynamic way. This one behaves just like a for each step, except the item that it outputs is a current row. And so similar to the dynamic data rows, let me see if I can plug this up in here so you can kind of see what it looks like. And so what I can do is, let's say I have a list of accounts that I got to put in here. What I can do is I can say, let me grab my database. I don't have any database structures. Oh, that's sad. All right, let's say I got to create a purchase request, right? I have this predefined data structure that I was using, right? And I would loop back here and I would design it very similarly to a for each step, right? Next row goes into the step, and it will do it for however many data records we have, and then go to the done path. Now here, whenever I build data and select from the flow, let's say I want to map in the item name, the for each item is the current row. And so now I can drill down in this and say, okay, in the field that I'm going to be utilizing, is it field 1, 2, 3, or 4? And you want to think of it like the context of a report, meaning that when you have your column names, field 1's the most left column, field 2 is the next left column, field 3, is moving, more to the right of the columns, and so on and so forth. And you just map the particular type that it is, put it in there, and then you can transition your data dynamically that way. So if you don't want to do the specific column names like we have here, here's one of the ways you can do it without utilizing the CSV or the CSV data structure, data type. So pretty cool stuff. Excel files are one of those things that are pretty fun to store data and transition data out of, but these are the steps to utilize that. Any other comments or questions? Let me make sure I got the Q&A section open because I don't have that open. Yeah, feel free to type in your question or raise your hand and I'll set you off mute and then you guys can talk. No worries. Hey, Jared, I have a ticket open for this, but since I don't have the answer yet, wanted to hear your perspectives on it. Sure, I'll be more than happy to give you mine. If you think this is not good, nah, it's good, man. Anything that promotes conversation or discussion. I'm trying to have a form with a data repeater that shows records in a database. Okay. I want to have for each record in the data repeater an icon to edit it. Ooh, I see. When clicked, a subdialogue form is opened to edit all the fields in the record. Oh, okay. I got you. Even those. Wait. Oh, wait. Hold on. I want to have for each record in the data period an icon to edit it when clicked on. a subdialogue form is open to edit all the fields in the record. Got it. Even those that are not shown in the data repeater. Sure. I see what you're saying. Once I save the content of the record, I'm able to save it into the data throughout the problem, but I cannot refresh the list in the data repeater to show that data being modified in the subdialogue form. Again, if it's too long. Let's see. I think this would be a fun one. Let me try to build this on the fly. I think I can do something and kind of do something fun. So, all right. Let me build a quick data structure for this because we got 12, 15. We got time. All right, we're gonna have some fun. All right, strap in, grab your popcorn, grab your sodas, and we're gonna build this together. All right, so let's say I'm gonna just use my scaffolding project flow, and I'm gonna say we'll just say this is like dynamic data repeater. I can't spell repeater. We're just going with it. Technically, I just need forms. I'll need a data types folder, and sure, I'll need a flow. And let's generate the project folders. Boom. All right, cool. I got these three. All right, now what I want is I got to create a data type. The data type we're going to create is, you said the database is what you're using. I just want to confirm. Records in a database. All right, so I'm going to create a database structure. Now, this is just about my curiosity, Alex. Are you using an external integration, or is this like a decisions database structure? This is just more out of my curiosity. The process would still be the same. It's just more for my own, just so I know the context the best. Perfect. I love it. All right, so this is going to be, we're going to use people again because I like people. People database. Alrighty, so we're going to do first name. We're going to do last name, if I can spell. We're going to do date of birth. We're going to do, which is the date time. We're going to do age, right? Because everyone likes to know that they're forever 18. Then we're going to do hobbies or hobby. Everyone only gets one hobby in this data structure. And then we're going to do what's another thing? We can leave this just like this. I think it'll be fine. All right, so we're going to save this. So we got first name, last name, date of birth, age, and hobby. So that's what we got for some people. Cool. All right, now I'm going to create a quick flow. I'm going to call this generate data. Generate random data for my DB for Alex. There we go. Really long flow name. Probably shouldn't name your flows that long, but I like being fun. All right, so now what we're going to do is there's some cool generate random data steps just for your information. If you're ever curious, we can generate random first names, random surnames. We can also generate random numbers. Random number. Yep, get random int. So some people may be really old. I apologize for the people that I'll be using. Oh, it's just random people. Can we get a random date? Random date? No, if not, people are going to have the exact same date. I don't care. Random date, hobby. Everyone will have the same hobby. That'll be what we'll edit for it. All right, cool. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, connect these together. We're going to use a for loop for this, just so I can generate some quick data. We got boom. I'm going to put this here and get random int the max. All right, we'll make sure that no one's over 50, right? No, everyone's forever 18 or forever 21. Boom, we're going to do that, forever 21. So everyone has to be at least 21 or younger. And we'll generate about 10 records of this. So 10 records. And then before I edit it, I need to go to user defined types, need to go databases, create some people, build data. And then what we'll do is the age is going to be the get random int, the DOB. We're just going to make everyone born. Let's see. Let's just make everyone go back farther. We're going to make everyone born in 1983. Why not? And then we'll do July. There we go. July 6th, 1983. Sounds good. And then select from flow, get random first name. Oh, select from flow, get random. Let's see. Surname. And then hobby. We're going to make everyone like, I don't know, flows. And then we'll change it so that we have people who like different parts of the designer. Okay, cool. So now we got this. And now we're going to generate some data. Bada bing, bada boom, bam, we got data. All right, now I can close this. We don't need it anymore. Now I'm going to create that form. I'm going to create the data repeater first, and then we'll create the main form. So this is going to be the people dr form. Create this. We'll only show the first name, last name, and age. Those will be the three we'll show. So I'm going to, let's do a text box. Or actually, I got to add one more column to this. Let's do one more column. Let's go. I'm gonna make this like 0.5. Perfect. All right, we got 0.5. That will resize if it needs to. But what we'll do is we're going to. I'm thinking. Text box. That's what we need. Text box. We're gonna grab. Oh, I didn't set the input. Silly me. I keep forgetting. People database. Boom. Then we get a text box. We need two text boxes and a number box. I'm gonna name this text box first name just so it makes sense. And then we're gonna name this one last name. Come on. Got it. All right. And then we'll do number box. And this one will be an int. And this will be data name. Why is it so small? I can't see that. Oh, it's because it's all right. We'll make this 15, 16. Boom. All right, there we go. Now I can finally see the number. All right, so now we'll do pick from data. This is gonna grab the age. Boom. So now we got that. This one's gonna grab the last name. Boom. Now we got that. This one's gonna grab this. We have first name. Boom. And now this is where we're gonna add it. You can, if you want an image, so you want an image where people can click on to edit it. Sure. I'm going to do the subdialogue because you can add the subdialogue image right here. Boom. And this is probably going to be not the best looking one, but I'm going to do the pencil. Here we go. I'm going to add the pencil thing. Let's see what it looks like. Ooh, that's gross. But we can make it smaller. Let's make it a little bit smaller. Did it work? Oh, I think it. Oh, I know what happened. I think it's just. All right, here we go. I got to make this pretty. This is going to bother me. All right, I'm going to close this. Let me delete this thing. All right, I think what we need to do is let's make this not a resizable column. Let's make this fixed. All right, so let's go ahead and make this fixed, but we can't do it as 0.5 because that'd be really tiny. So let's do 15. That is a little too tiny. So we're gonna make this a little bit bigger. 30. Let's do 30. And I think we'll be okay. Well, if we make it 100, I think it will fit with the pencil thing. But how big is 100? Let's do 50. Yeah, I like 50. 50 looks better. Okay, so now we're gonna add your image here. I got that here. We're gonna say that this is the pencil, or this is edit, and we probably got some edit SVG. Perfect. Let's see if it scales. Hey, it'll pass. It'll be okay. So this is the thing people would click on. Now you can like add some cool HTML CSS to make it like change colors and have a hover effect. I won't go that far detailed into it. If you have UI people on your team, I would interface with them. It's not too hard to make a hover effect, but you can do that here. So now that we got this, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to save this, and we're going to utilize this. Oh, maybe that's the thing. I think we can edit the rule dialog flow. Okay, cool. So now we have the current item right here. So now what we can do is, now that we have this, is I'm going to, before we make changes to that, I'm actually just going to save this. This is our data repeater. We'll come back and configure that later. But now what I want to do is I'm going to create the form that will actually display all the data, kind of like you said you wanted, where they click a button and boom, all of the columns of that row are displayed in that data. So we're just going to create a really quick form for that. I don't really like simple forms, but sure, I'll make a simple form. Actually, I changed my mind. Let's just make a normal form. All right, so this is going to be display all. Actually, I'm going to do this, make this easier. I'm going to just generate a data form so I don't have to configure it. Okay. People database for input. Perfect. All right, yeah, well, I'm just gonna do that quick action just to generate a data form because I think you get the picture. You can style it however way you want. So I got that form. That form is done. Now what I want to do is I need to create another form, not a report. Click the wrong thing. Is I'm gonna create another form. This is going to be the main form running my other forms. Enter that. Do a button, right? And this is just going to be my done button. And then what we'll do is sure, I'll add a interesting label. We'll make this use form font. No, we're going to make this 26 bold and we'll make it centered. And we're going to say this is label text. This is the display data repeater thingy with image control right here. And then I'm going to grab my data repeater. So I can say data repeater. Data repeater, boom, boom, boom. Big source. People data repeater, boom. So now I got it. I'm gonna make this a little skinnier so it fits over the whole thing. Ooh, a little too much. Come on. There we go. And we'll say this is people data is what we'll call this. People, people. I can't spell. All right, cool. And then what I'm going to do is, this is just for testing. I'm just going to create an active form flow that fetches my people data and pre-populates this data repeater. It's not necessary. I'm just doing it to demonstrate its functionality. Fetch my people data. This is just going to run at startup. All I'm going to do is say fetch entities. Boom, boom. Oh, really don't like the quick add menu. I don't know why we have it. Every time like I accidentally hit the quick add, and what quick add to me is like I accidentally do this. That's what we call quick add. It reminds me of that at the scene in Emperor's New Groove with Kronk and Yzma, where he's like, or I think she's like, why do I even have that lever? That's kind of my mindset whenever I accidentally do it. It's like, why do I even have that lever? Anywho, so I'm gonna grab my people data, and then I'm going to change the output of my data repeater item source to be this. Boom, go ahead. We're going to close and save this bad boy. Close. And then what we're going to do is now I have to save this. And I'm actually going to go ahead and edit this thing because now I still have to configure this because I didn't configure this. And so now what I'm going to do is, since I created my generate data form, I'm going to show that generate data form, pick create it, pick existing. That's the people database form. Aha, that's that one. Alrighty, and then let's just see if this works. So then I can say I want the current item. So whatever the current item, which is the one that I think is the road that it's on. That's my assumption. I don't know if that's correct. We'll learn together. I think it should be correct because that shows you all that. Okay, cool. All right, so this one, what should happen is now that we got that configured, now I'm going to test this. Wrong one. Create a flow. This is going to be, and I'll call this demonstrate my masterpiece. All right, and then what I'm going to do is then we grab that show form right here. Boom, boom, and boom. All right, so now, and I should just debug and then it has data. Ha ha, cool. Now the cool thing, I click this button. Boom, ha ha, I got everything. All right, cool. So now we know this works. Now we've only answered half of your question, right? Because your question was, how do we get it to where then I make a change? So let's say I change Sarah's hobby from flows to forms, right? And you click OK, you want that data to be reflected back in this menu right here so that it kind of changes. All right, so how do we do that? So what we're going to do is now that we got this part done, we have to go back into the subdialogue or the data repeater and the subdialogue flow area. So I'm going to edit this. Let's go to the source. Let's go to this, edit the rule. And then now what we want to do is, I think this outputs the entire people database. So I think, right, this is actually change Sarah to Mary and see if you can see the, okay, sure, I'll change Sarah to Mary. So how this comes to a concept that I want to slow down on, because I want to make sure that this gets understood. So this potentially could be easy because this form takes in the entire object of input. The reason why that's relevant is every single form control, as you can see here, takes in its value from this input. And then when this form outputs it, it outputs that same variable. So any changes I make, all I need to do is I can say, hey, I want to change value on that current item of that list. Right? I'm going to slow down for what I mean by that. So because the generate data form creates a given input of the people database, right? You can do this with anything. I could name this cheese and then I just have to reference the cheese variable. But because the generate data name generate data form created this input for me, I now can reference each of my form controls to the properties of that composite type. And this just makes it easier because then any change I make will automatically be reflected on the output. And then all I have to do is just change value and change value of the current item. Now, I don't know if this works. I think I may have done it a couple of times, but I don't remember. So let's go ahead and let's just test it out. Because I think it won't reflect on the form, if I'm not mistaken. Debug. Right, so let's change Sarah to Mary. I think that's what you said. Actually change Sarah to Mary. So I'm gonna change Sarah to, or actually, I already did an error. Let me go ahead and just change my data repeater so I don't make that mess up. This is going to be disabled. Can I disable? Aha, initially enabled. Boom, all three initially enabled. Perfect. Initially disabled, excuse me. This way I won't change it that way, because I think you probably will just be displaying this data and I got to click on this. And then now I change it to Mary. So if I change this to Mary, now I should see that change there. Right, see, it didn't. So, which is what I thought it would do. And the reason why is because, as you said, it changes it in the database. And I think I can go to my subdialogue rule flow. And it looked like it changed it. So what you need to do, and this is where it kind of gets to where you have to know your architecture. Okay. Oh, I know why. I know what I did wrong. I know what I did. I shouldn't have to change. It's not a change value. What I actually need to do, if you have a database, we have to go to database structures, and then we just say selective update. And then I can do input mappings from the input. Oh, I gotta do this. Rename, and then now I can just do input mappings, all from the input variable. Age will go to age, DOB will go to DOB, first name will go to first name, hobby will go to hobby, and last name will go to last name. So this should change it in the database. I didn't have this step here, so that's why I didn't change in the database. And then the ID of it is just going to be the input.id. Bingo. So now this will make the change in the database. Let's just confirm. And then we'll go to the next thing. All right, so I debug this. We're going to get Sarah still, but I want to edit Sarah. I want to go to Mary, and then I click OK. So then I know my subdialogue rule flow runs that, so I know it's changed. So now I presume if I close this and do a new session, I got Mary. Good. So we're one step closer. But now, how do we get it to dynamically change when it's made? Not I have to run the process that fetches that data again. So here's what I think we can do, is what I can say. But this is going to go to my point where this is going to be something we have to think about a little bit from the architecture perspective. So in here, I can say whenever there's a value change on my data repeater, I want to refetch that data. I think this will work. I'm pretty sure because right, what all this flow does is it just fetches that data. I can click OK. Now let's see if this works. Let's change it to Sarah now. All right, I don't see it change. Sarah Williams. Which one is it? Okay, so what if? All right, so we got that there. But if I run this, now it should be Sarah. It is Sarah now. Yeah. So I wonder, so that's going to be a tricky part. Let's see, I'm thinking, what would be the next thing we could do to get it to function? With a different code, this is the same problem. Correct, yeah. And so now that I'm here, now I'm trying to think of what could we do to force it to trigger that change. Because if you do it there, it will change it. But it doesn't reload that form. And you couldn't know what index you've clicked on for it. So if I click on here, I see all of it. Notice it doesn't run that rule flow. The key to all of this is going to be somewhere run on all outcomes, fetch that data. That's going to be a very heavy processing. Yeah, I wonder if that would be a feature request. If there could be, we can have like a refresh. Well, let's search for that. If there's a way to refresh, add button dead outcomes, triggers. Okay. That's just that. Okay. Nope. Okay. Oh man, I was hoping that key trigger might have been used. Constant value initially behavior. Help size. Read only auto separator. Data repeater selection type. Edit the row. Let's edit the source. So we're here. This gets it to run. We have this. This updates the data. Now, wait a minute. Data. I only have one. In the main form, what is the content of the active form flow? It's just to fetch entities. It's just the thing. I'm actually going to debug it so you can see it. It's just the thing that fetches all the data. So I can display the data in here. Because that's the level we're at. So we would have to have some way to re-trigger this. I think there is a way. Okay, here's what I'm thinking. Well, that's what I'm doing already. So you can do it that way, but I'm doing an output mapping on it. So I'm having the same result. So what I mean by that is I'm fetching the data, and then notice that my output mapping is set to change the form data repeat item source. So basically, I can do it in less steps than having a set control. And this does the same function as that. So value change doesn't work. So we don't need to run a value change because that didn't work. Click OK. Here's an idea. I think this will work. I'm pretty confident in this. Data source. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go here. Once we edit this data, we're going to fetch it again. And I wonder if this is the actual key. People database. I'm going to change output mappings, and I'm actually going to do the all item list. So I wonder if this will help us change it. I don't know. It may not, but that's the only thing I can think of why we have that all item listing. So essentially, just to talk through the logic, right? We click on that icon, we open the form, we edit whatever data we want, and then we send that data to be processed and stored in the database. And then what we do is we refetch all the data with that edit change, and then repopulate the all list. Hence why I have the all item list change. So that should work. I don't know, but let's test it out. So let's change Sarah to Mary. Then I do this. So it did not trigger because the session's already there. But I know it changed because if I run it, if I place it in a central location, it should change. Let me confirm to see if that changed it. Mary changed. Okay, good. So we have that change. It didn't change with the all items because that had no bearing on it. But if I wonder, there's no way to refresh. I don't think there's a way to like trigger these things to refresh. Because it's reading, so the data variable is reading here. I want to make it a central place. People data. I'm gonna make this people. Oh, but that's not gonna get passed. I don't think it's gonna matter. There's no way to trigger. Hmm. 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 Let's give it a shot. I still don't think that. So if I'd make, instead of get this name, people data, pick from data, people data. So I have that there. Then I change back to form flow. Input data. I'd say change back to input data. I just don't think that's gonna matter. Because the problem is this thing still doesn't know of its existence unless it's aware or input data. No, that's just input. Or maybe it does know of it. So maybe I can change that same central variable because it kept it. No, it didn't. It's just the list. It's just the one record. Darn it. Because that's the one record. And that's the input of that. That's the input of that. We might have to do another design pattern, design paradigm to get that function. I wonder, but then the problem is associating which record is the record the user clicked on. Because another way we could try to do this is you can use event buttons and then active form flows to allow people to edit the particular record. But I think you would have an intermediary process where you would have to have the user select which record they want to edit, and then they can edit that record. I don't know if it'd be as seamless as this. But I wonder if I just do that. Form data. Let's just change the form data of this. So we selective update that. Set control or set value. Oh, what do I do? I'm gonna do a create data step. That's what I'll do. Here's my last attempt. I think we can do people, DB record, people, database, select from flow. I'm gonna grab the input, and then output. I'm gonna change form input data, form data. I want to change the value of that record, and then we'll close this. That's the only thing I can think. I just don't know how that would trigger the form. I think it's just not gonna change that information. It should though. Mary K. Yeah, because it doesn't trigger this main form to refresh. Yeah, it doesn't change that input. I wonder if there's gotta be a way to tab controls, key triggers, go to control, trigger action, run data form, run an active form flow. Run data flow. That's just okay. So that's just a key to change it. Is there any way I could time that trigger that on a time, like an event trigger? Let's see if there's any of those event triggers. It's event image. An active form flow would work that way, but still gives you the same inputs as a subdialogue root flow, so it's not really changing anything. You're just changing subdialogue root, so you wouldn't have forms. Yeah, this is definitely a something to think about. I think like I said, the reason why it's on the tip of my tongue is I think that I remember there's a way that I did this. I just don't remember, or maybe I didn't do the data change. No, I did do the data change. Or but I think maybe what I did is I didn't have it be sourced from the database and it was just in a variable. And then I changed that variable. I'm not sure. So yeah, this could be something that does like that's a feature request or a DT. Exactly, yeah. No, because that'd be something that you should be able to edit that data and refresh it. So but yeah, I'll see what the ticket says. I'll share with you my project if you want to mess around with it. Um, but I'll go around with some people internally and find out what I find. And if I find anything before the ticket response, I'll send you an email, Alex. Yeah, no, my pleasure. It was definitely a fun problem. I enjoyed building it and trying to figure it out. Alrighty, since it's just you, I guess I'm gonna stop the lunch and learn there. I got another meeting to go to, but tomorrow is our last lunch and learn for the week. So feel free to join. I forgot who's running it, but whoever it is, it will definitely be a treat. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day.